Recording in progress.
Right, you're right. That never made any sense to me. It's kind of like, getting hit with a fee for a bounce check. You didn't have the money to start with, so we're going to make you pay more. But being late to school or missing school, they put you in detention, which means you're going to the high.
Still missing class.
So,
Oh,
welcome everybody. Good to see everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, it is. How you doing? So we didn't have Sunday school last week due to we had some immediate concerns for meetings and things that had to be done. So we're back this week. I'm going to say we're not going to have Sunday school next week because it's Pentecost. And, it's just one of those high church Sundays kind of things. I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt anything, but still. So I encourage all of y'all to wear the colored Pentecosts, which are mainly red, but orange, yellow, those kinds of things. I know I'm wearing yellow today, but that's because of Mother's Day. So for those of you watching online at any point in the future here, that it's Mother's Day today, during this lesson. So we are still in the book of Tobit, which is one of those apocryphal books, but we're only going to be in it briefly. We're in the last chapter. Just kind of bringing y'all up to, Tobit is one of those books that's more legend than it is fact. Although, we hear these tall tales and, these legends and fairy tales, and they're all grounded. There's a reason they were written. Number one, there's either some semblance of truth to it, or it's to make a point, like for fairy tales fairy tales, they kind of have a moral aptitude or a moral statement at the end of it or whatever. But anyway, this book is just made, or it was written, we believe, mainly just to give an idea of what life was like in the exile for those that went into exile in the north through the Assyrian invasion. Tobit is Tobit is the dad who was taken into captivity by the Assyrians. He was taken to Nineveh. He's got this son Tobias. We heard all that story. Tobias set off on a mission to find a wife and to gather the trust fund that had been set up for him. He's accompanied by who we find out is an angel named Raphael. Anyway, so all of that takes place. Tobias comes home. He heals his dad's blindness, remember, with that fish gall or whatever, dude. And then Tobit gives this wonderful prayer of praise, and that's what we did 2 weeks ago. That's where we ended 2 weeks ago, and that's where we pick up today. We're in the last chapter. I will say that after when we finish that, the book of Tobit mentions a story, but it gives us very, very little detail. So what we're going to do after Tobit, I want to go into the legendary story behind what he mentions. Okay, and you'll see what I mean. So let me go ahead and share our screen. Okay. Here, y'all with me so far?
So far.
Yeah, we'll not shofar. Don't say shofar in Ron's presence or that one of them.
So far.
There we go. Okay. So we're in chapter 14 of Tobit. If you want to follow along, it's in any of the NRSV books with apocrypha attached to it. So ended Tobit's words of praise. That's that prayer we were talking about. He died in peace when he was 112 years old and was buried with great honor in Nineveh. He was 58 years old when he lost his eyesight, and after regaining it, he lived in prosperity, giving alms. He continued to bless God and to acknowledge God's greatness. When he was about to die, he called his son Tobias and his 7 children and gave this command: "My son, take your children and escape off to Media, for I believe the word of God that Nahum spoke about Nineveh, that all these things will occur and will happen to Assyria and Nineveh. Indeed, everything that was spoken by the prophets of Israel whom God sent will occur. None of all their words will fail, but all will come true at their appointed time. So it will be safer in Media than among the Assyrians or in Babylon. For I know and believe that whatever God has said will be fulfilled and will occur. So, Media, does that bring up any ideas? We talked about it during the reading of Tobit.
Is that like Midian?
No, Midian is a city in Israel, but Media. Well, yeah, I won't make you think too long. After the Assyrians, you have the Babylonians. But who conquers the Babylonians? The Medes and the Persians. Media is the land of the Medes. Okay? Not a single word of the prophecies will fail. This is still Tobit speaking. All of our kindred inhabitants of the land of Israel will be counted and taken as captives from the good land, and the whole land of Israel will be desolate. The good land would be the southern kingdom. Okay. Even Samaria and Jerusalem will be desolate, and the temple of God in it will be burned to the ground and will be desolate for a while. But God will again have mercy on them, and God will bring them back into the land of Israel, and they will rebuild the temple, but not like the first one until the appointed time is completed. After this, they all will return from their exile and will rebuild Jerusalem in splendor, and in it the temple of God will be rebuilt, just as the prophets of Israel have said concerning it. Then all the nations in the whole world will all be converted and will truly fear God. They will all abandon all their idols, and a lot of alls there, who deceitfully have led them into their error. And in righteousness they will praise the eternal God. All the Israelites who are saved in those days and are truly mindful of God will be gathered together. They will go to Jerusalem and live in safety forever in the land of Abraham, and it will be given over to them. Those who sincerely love God will rejoice, but those who commit sin and injustice will vanish from all the earth. So now, my children, I command you, serve God faithfully and do what is pleasing in his sight. Your children are also to be commanded to do what is right and to give alms and to be mindful of God and to bless his name at all times with sincerity and with all their strength. So now, my son, leave Nineveh. Do not remain here. On whatever day you bury your mother beside me, do not stay overnight within the confines of the city, for I see that there is much injustice within it and that much deceit is practiced within it, while the people are without shame. See, my son, what Nadab did to Ahicar, who had reared him. Was he not, while still alive, brought down into the earth? For God repaid him to his face for this shameful treatment. There's your hint. What are we talking about? Who's Ahicar? Who's Nadab? Ahicar came out into the light, and Nadab went into the eternal darkness because he tried to kill Ahicar. Because he gave alms, he escaped the fatal trap that Nadab had set for him, but Nadab fell into it himself and was destroyed. So now, my children, see what almsgiving accomplishes and what injustice does. It brings death. But now my breath fails me. Then they laid him on his bed, and he died, and he received an honorable funeral. When Tobias's mother died, he buried her beside his father. Then he and his wife returned to Media and settled in Ecbatana with Raguel, his father-in-law. He looked after his parents-in-law with great respect in their old age and buried them in Ecbatana of Media. He inherited both the property of Raguel and that of his father Tobit. He died highly respected at the age of 117 years. Okay. We still got a few more verses here. Before he died, he saw and heard of the destruction of Nineveh, and he saw its prisoners being led into Media. Those whom King Cyaxares, that would be King Cyrus of the Medes, okay, of Media, had taken captive. Tobias blessed God for all he had done to the people of Nineveh and Assyria. Before he died, he rejoiced over Nineveh, and he blessed the Lord God forever and ever. Amen. Okay. So we get Tobit on his dying breath. He says, remember the Alamo. No, he says, remember the story of Ahicar and Nadab. But we don't get any details. We get the general, he did evil and he was, it backfired on him. Well, what was that? Well, that got me interested. So, I take my interest to mean your interest too. So, so that's where we're going. We're going into the story of Ahicar. And like I said, we'll read part of it today. I'm pretty sure, if I remember, because I did the lesson for the next time a couple weeks ago. So I'm pretty sure we'll finish it up the next time. But anyway, so we start the story of Ahicar. The story of Ahicar, remember this is written in other language, so the names kind of are translated into the regional names, like Michael versus Mikhail versus Miguel, that kind of thing. So when you see Hikar, Haiqar, that is a Hikar. The story of Hikar the Wise, vizier of Sennacherib the king, that would be Assyria, and of Nadin, sister's son to Hikar the sage. There was a vizier in the days of King Sennacherib, son of Sarkadun, that would be Shardun, that we read in the Bible, king of Assyria and Nineveh, a wise man named Hikar. He was vizier of the king Sennacherib. He had a fine fortune and much goods, and he was skillful, wise, and a philosopher in knowledge and opinion and in government, and he had married 60 women and had built a castle for each of them. But with it all, he had no children by any of these women. Might be his heir. And he was very sad on account of this. And one day he assembled the astrologers and the learned men and the wizards and explained to them his condition, his matter of his barrenness. Just like guys to meet together and talk about their families. You women, if you don't know what guys talk about, we talk about y'all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There's the
Say
secret.
something?
Yes.
He had 60 women, they had no kids. I think it was him that had the problem.
Yeah.
Not the women. that had the problem.
His condition and his,
Yeah.
barrenness.
We like to blame.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And
And they said to him, go sacrifice. This is all the people he got, all his friends that he got together. Okay? They said to him, go sacrifice to the gods and beseech them that perchance they may provide thee with a boy. And he did as they told him and offered sacrifices to the idols and besought them and implored them with request and entreaty. And they answered him not one word. He's sorrowful and dejected, departing with a pain in his heart. And he returned and implored the Most High God. We don't know what happened between 8 and 9. What made him, was this a last-ditch effort? I don't think so, just based on what it says on the next line, burning in his heart. Maybe he's, this is the last bit. This is it. If it doesn't happen now, it's never going to happen. Okay, but anyway, and he returned and implored the Most High God and believed, beseeching him with a burning in his heart, saying, O Most High God, O Creator of the heavens and the earth, O Creator of all created things, I beseech thee to give me a boy, that I may be consoled by him, that he may be present at my death, that he may close my eyes, and that he may bury me. Then there came to him a voice, saying, Inasmuch as thou hast relied first of all on graven images and offered sacrifices to them, for this reason thou shalt remain childless thy life long. But take Nadin, thy sister's son, make him thy child, and teach him thy learning and thy good breeding. At thy death he shall bury thee. I only had a couple of translations I could work from, so that's why there's a lot of dies in these. Thereupon he took Nadin, his sister's son, who was a little suckling. He handed him over to 8 wet nurses that they might suckle him and bring him up. And they brought him up with good food and gentle training and silken clothing and purple and crimson.
He was well fed.
Very much. And he was seated upon couches of silk. I would hate to clean those couches.
How did his father object to this?
We don't hear about Nadin's father or
I
Hikar's
took my son.
brother-in-law. Yeah, we don't hear about it. And when Nadin grew big and walked, shooting up like a tall cedar, he taught him good manners and writing and science and philosophy. And after many days, King Sennacherib looked at Hikar and saw that he had grown very old. And moreover, he said to him, O my honored friend, the skillful, the trusty, the wise, the governor, my secretary, my vizier, my chancellor and director, verily thou art grown very old and weighted with years, and thy departure from this world must be near. How would you like your boss to come and tell you, you're looking a little frayed?
age discrimination.
Hey, tell me, who shall have a place in my service after thee? And Hikar said to him, O my lord, may thy head live forever. There is Nadin, my sister's son, I have made him my child, and I have brought him up and taught him my wisdom and my knowledge. And the king said to him, O Hikar, bring him to my presence that I may see him, and if I find him suitable, put him in your place, and thou shalt go thy way to take a rest and to live the remainder of thy life in sweet repose. Sure.
He's sweet repose.
Right. Yeah. Bring him here so I can see, make sure he's good, and then we'll kill you. Okay. Then Hikar went and presented Nathan his sister's son, and he did homage and wished him power and honor. And he looked at him and admired him and rejoiced in him and said to Hikar, "Is this thy son, O Hikar? I pray that God may preserve him. And as thou hast served me and my father Sardum, so may this boy of thine serve me and fulfill my undertakings, my needs, and my business, so that I may honor him and make him powerful for thy sake." And Hikar did obeisance to the king and said to him, "May thy head live, O my lord the king, forever."
This is good.
Yeah, well,
Not the rest of
They
it.
had cryo back then.
right. I seek from thee that thou mayst be patient with my boy Nathan and forgive his mistakes, that he may serve thee as it is fitting. Then the king swore to him that he would make him the greatest of his favorites and the most powerful of his friends, and that he should be with him in all honor and respect. And he kissed his hands and bade him farewell. And he took Nathan, his sister's son, with him and seated him in a parlor and set about teaching him night and day till he had crammed him with wisdom and knowledge more than with bread and water. I kind of think, y'all mentioned it, and y'all made a note of it, which, helped me out because, from, as an infant and a toddler, he's probably fattened, he's probably a chubby little kid. And around 6, 7, 8 years old or so, right, is when he's being presented to the king and all this, and the king says, "Oh, go ahead, teach him, we'll make him when he gets old enough." And so he sets about, okay, we got to feed you with something else because
It said he shot up like the Cedars of Lebanon.
yeah.
It's physical life.
So, yeah. The chapter 2 there, the story of Hikar. Thus he taught him, and it was hard. These were these chapters. Like I said, I picked the best one I could based on what I had. The verses, some of them don't match up quite, so you may see where some are mixed up, like verse 10, verse 12, verse 11 kind of thing. And the first verse of each one was hard to discern because there was a lot of data given about that particular chapter, and I don't know where the verse started. So I just took some liberties for all that.
Okay.
Thus he taught him, saying, "O my son, hear my speech and follow my advice, and remember what I say." Oh, my son, you're going to see that phrase a lot. "If thou hearest the word, let it die in thy heart, and reveal it not to another, lest it become a live coal and burn thy tongue and cause a pain in thy body, and thou gain a reproach and art shamed before God and man. Oh, my son, if thou hast heard a report, spread it not, and if thou hast seen something, tell it not. Oh, my son, make thy eloquence easy to the listener, and be not hasty to return an answer. Oh, my son, when thou hast heard anything, hide it not." Now that's funny because he just said in verse 2, "Let it die in your heart, reveal it not." Now he's saying, "Hide it not." What Hikar is doing is he's teaching Nadab the specifics about working with King Sennacherib. Nadab, there's going to be times when the king's going to ask you, "Hey, what'd you hear?" "Nothing." Nothing's going on, king. And then there's going to be times when the king says, "Okay, what'd you hear?" There is this one thing. Okay, he's teaching him about the number one, the opportunities and the appropriateness of what to say. When to hold confidences, when to not hold confidences. That's what he's being taught. So it seems a little counterintuitive, but he's being taught applied politics. That makes sense? Okay. "Oh, my son, loose not a sealed knot, nor untie it, and seal not a loosened knot." Boy, that's a lot of alliteration.
It's a tongue twister.
"Oh, my son, covet not outward beauty, for it wanes and passes away, but an honorable remembrance lasts for aye." I have no clue what that means.
Forever.
Yeah, the other translations did not help. "Oh, my son, let not a silly woman deceive thee with her speech, lest thou die the most miserable of deaths, and she entangle thee in the net till thou art ensnared." O my son, desire not a woman bedizened with dress and with ointments, who is despicable and silly in her soul. Woe to thee if thou bestow on her anything that is thine, or commit to her what is in thine hand, and she entice thee into sin, and God be wroth with thee. O my son, be not like the almond tree, for it brings forth leaves before all trees, and edible fruit after them all. Yeah, but be like the mulberry tree, which brings forth edible fruit before all the trees, and leaves them after. So, yeah, don't be like the almonds that flower, they trick you into thinking they're about to give, and then you wait and wait and wait, and all these other trees, they sprout and grow all their fruit, the fruit dies, and then the tree dies, and the almonds finally start producing. Be like the mulberry tree, which it brings, it brings its fruit, and it may not be the tastiest stuff, but it's very good. But you get fruit for a whole lot longer, so yeah. O my son, bend thy head down, low down, and soften thy voice, and be courteous, and walk in a straight path, and be not foolish. And do not spoil thy speech with a man who lacks wisdom. O my son, while a shoe stays on thy foot, walk with it on the thorns, and make a road for thy son, for thy household and thy children. And make thy ship taut before she goes on the sea in its waves and sinks, and cannot be saved. O my son, if the rich man eat a snake, they say it is by his wisdom. And if a poor man eat it, people say from his hunger. O my son, be content with thy daily bread and thy goods, and covet not what is another's. Yeah, that snake thing, that's, if y'all remember the story of the lobster, lobster is a delicacy. It's expensive, but y'all remember how the lobster became a food? That's what was fed to prisoners and slaves when they were coming over to the New World. That was considered a throwaway food. So, oh my son, be not neighbor to the fool, and eat not bread with him, and rejoice not in the calamities of thy neighbors. That's taken directly from Psalm 141, by the way. If thine enemy wrong thee, show him kindness. O my son, a man who fears God, do not fear him and honor him. Oh, what does that say? Oh, my son, a man who fears God. Oh, I see. Yeah. Oh, my son, a man who fears God, do thou fear him and honor him. Revering is what it's saying.
No.
Oh, my son, the ignorant man falls and stumbles, and the wise man, even if he stumbles, he is not shaken. And even if he falls, he gets up quickly. And if he is sick, he can take care of his life. But as for the ignorant, stupid man, for his disease, there is no drug.
No smart things, huh?
You can't fix stupid. Yeah. Oh, my son, if a man approach thee who is inferior to thyself, go forward to meet him and remain standing. And if he cannot recompense thee, his Lord will recompense thee for him. O my son, spare not to beat thy son. For the drubbing of thy son is like manure to the garden, and like tying the mouth of a purse, and like the tetherings of the beasts, and like the bolting of the door. They learn through discipline. I don't like the word beat, but it is what it is. O my son, restrain thy son from wickedness, and teach him manners before he rebels against thee, and bring thee into contempt amongst the people, and thou hang thy head in the streets and the assemblies, and thou be punished for the evil of his wicked deeds. That's lifting someone up for them to tear you down. Oh, my son, let not thy parents curse thee, and the Lord be pleased with them. For it hath been said, he who despises his father or his mother, let him die the death, I mean the death of sin. And he who honoreth his parents shall prolong his days and his life, and shall see all that is good. O my son, walk not on the road without weapons, for thou knowest not when the foe may meet thee, so that thou mayst be ready for him. O my son, be not like a bare leafless tree that doth not grow, but be like a tree covered with its leaves and its boughs. For the man who has neither wife nor children is disgraced in this world, and is hated by them, like a leafless and fruitless tree. O my son, be like a fruitful tree on the roadside, its fruit is eaten by all who pass by, and the beasts of the desert rest under its shade and eat of its. O my son, every sheep that wanders from its path and its companions becomes food for the wolf. O my son, say not, my Lord is a fool and I am wise, and relate not the speech of ignorance and folly, lest thou be despised by him. O my son, be not one of those servants to whom their lords say, get away from us, but be one of those to whom they say, approach and come near to us. O my son, caress not thy slave in the presence of his companion, for thou knowest not which of them shall be of most value to thee in the end. O my son, be not afraid of thy Lord who created thee, lest he be silent to thee. O my son, make thy speech fair and sweeten thy tongue, and permit not thy companion to tread on thy foot, lest he tread it another time on thy breast. Yeah. Yeah, don't let your friends step on your feet. Otherwise, he may end up crushing you to death by jumping on you. Oh, my son, if thou be a wise man with a word of wisdom, it will lurk in his breast like a subtle sense of shame. But if thou drub the ignorant with a stick, he will neither understand nor hear. Oh, my son, if thou send a wise man for thy needs, do not give him many orders, for he will do thy business as thou desirest. And if thou send a fool, do not order him, but go thyself and do thy business. For if thou order him, he will not do what thou desirest. If they send thee on business, hasten to fulfill it quickly. O my son, make not an enemy of a man stronger than thyself, for he will take thy measure and his revenge on thee. That makes sense. O my son, make trial of thy son and of thy servant before thou committest thy belongings to them, lest they make away with them. For he who hath a full hand is called wise, even if he be stupid and ignorant. And he who hath an empty hand is called poor, ignorant, even if he be the prince of sages. O my son, I have eaten the colocynth and swallowed aloes, and I have found nothing more bitter than poverty and scarcity. Colocynth, we had it back when we were reading, what was it? I can't remember. It was one of those proverbs something, but it's it's an herb. It's an herb. Oh, my son, she's gonna look it up. So, oh, my son, teach thy son frugality and hunger, that he may do well in the management of his household. Oh, my son, teach not to the ignorant the language of wise men, for it will be burdensome to him. Oh, my son, display not thy condition to thy friend, lest thou be despised by him. Changing the scripture. Oh, my son, the blindness of the heart is more grievous than the blindness of the eyes. For the blindness of the eyes may be guided little by little, but the blindness of the heart is not guided, and it leaves the straight path and goes in a crooked way. Got an answer yet?
Straight path.
Yeah, I mean, it says it's an herb, and it says it's bitter.
And why would you eat it?
Well,
It's used in different parts of the world for diabetes, constipation, leprosy, asthma, bronchitis,
Medication.
jaundice, joint pain, cancer, and aesthetics.
it's used for both constipation and diarrhea. Think about, why would anyone voluntarily take castor oil? But yet it has medicinal property.
My mother made me.
Right.
It wasn't voluntary.
Oh, my son, the stumbling of a man with his foot is better than the stumbling of a man with his tongue. Oh, my son, a friend who is near is better than a more excellent brother who is far away. Oh, my son, beauty fades, but learning lasts, and the world wanes and becomes vain, but a good name neither becomes vain nor wanes. Oh, my son, the man who hath no rest, his death were better than his life, and the sound of weeping is better than the sound of singing. For sorrow and weeping, the fear of God be in them, are better than the sound of singing and rejoicing. Okay, well, that ends chapter 2. We've only got, I think this only has like 2 or 3 chapters. So, well, I know it's got at least one more. There may be 4 chapters. I can't remember. Anyway, that was all, it sounded like a lot of proverbs, but that was him teaching Nadab. When we get into the next chapter, it immediately goes into the story that Tobit was teaching. Okay. But this is from some of the stuff I was able to gather. A high carb. So the next time we meet, we're not meeting next week. It's Pentecost. We're going to take a little break because it's not what we call a high church Sunday. A high car retires from active participation in affairs of state. He turns over his possessions to his treacherous nephew.
So his nephew did not take it.
Here is the amazing story of how a thankless profligate turns forgerer. Clever plot to entangle the high car results in his being condemned to death. It is apparently the end of a high. Okay? Yeah, next time, you know, like. Same back chop times. That's from Back to the TV show. So we're just meeting next week, but the week after. So, anyway, are there any questions there? I know that was kind of deviating from the subject, you know, from the narrative and stuff, but, like I said, I found it interesting, you know, when we hear about the kings of Israel and Judah, and, you know, it says, are not these things written in the book, you know, the annals of, you know, and all this, and you're going, well, what? And I kind of jokingly say, don't know, never read it, because there's no extant copy, you know, we don't know what they're talking about. And
It
then,
may have been a bunch of different,
right,
not just one, you know,
correct.
it could be a bunch of different.
And there were other books that are mentioned that we have no concept. In the New Testament, there is, yeah, I've got to finish up real quick. I know I'm pretty far. In the New Testament, I think it's Peter, in his letter, talks about, has it not been written such and such and such and such? Well, it's not written in the Bible anyway, but it is written in one of the apocryphal books. So some of these books did exist apparently, or at least we believe they did. So I say the apocryphal books, one of the deuterocanonical or pseudepigrapha books, he mentioned something, was it not written here? And you find it in the Gospel of Thomas is where you find it, which is not, I don't think we're going to get into that because, you know, that comes later on. So anyway, that's where we're at. Any other questions, anything interesting? Thank you for looking up Colson.
It says it has some really bad side effects, so FDA is not approved. I've been some.
Why you go to Canada or Mexico to get it? Okay, let me go ahead and end this. Y'all take care. See y'all in